Here is a clip of our crankshaft working. You can see the piston firing and the crank turning around. We used a gear train that tries to reduce the amount of strain on the gears and those rotary pins, and then the wheels in the rear are driven using bearings to reduce friction.
Hello, my name is Jackson Koppelman, and this will be our electrical verification for Team 512. As you can see here, I have made a wiring diagram showing that showing our circuit as it will appear on our robot. As you can see, the magnetometer is wired up to the Arduino properly, as is the reed switch and the breadboard. As you can see here, the wiring is very organized and is very replaceable if anything goes wrong. Just demonstrating the robustness of our wires. As you can see, no wires came out of their holes there. All these wires are very secure. Moving on to the next portion, I'm going to connect the Arduino. And as you can see here, we are able to read the magnetometer and reed switch. Currently the battery is not on, so it's not actually actuating any of these except for the magnetometer, or it's not actuating the solenoid, but the magnetometer, please focus, there we go. The magnetometer is changing with my movement. Okay, so now, as you can see, when I turn on the battery, we are able to actuate the solenoid, which is connected to the piston, and this lead goes to the tire, and as well as the servo, which is getting some interference from the solenoid. So I'm going to disconnect the solenoid right now and purely display that the servo is able to move according to the magnetometer. As an addition to the last part, I wanted to prove that it was magnetic interference, so I've moved it to a different location, away from my laptop, and as you can see, it moves much more predictably when I move the magnetometer. Thank you.
Unfortunately, our coder had to go to the urgent care tonight, so he couldn't record this video. However, here is our general pseudocode. You can see that we first input the libraries and define our variables, then we initialize our Arduino and do any calibration that's needed. In our loop, you can see that we have controls for both our piston firing and measuring the current speed and adjusting for that, as well as measuring our current angle and adjusting using the servo. Here is all the data for the test that we ran for open loop with the different variables changing. For all cases, we never managed to end or reach the goal. Here is hybrid. You can see that for one case, we actually did make it to the end. And these are the variables that we changed in each value that we tested. Here is the best case that we found. Here's for closed loop, the variables that we changed in each value that we assigned them, and the result score. You can see that in more cases that we actually reached the end. This was the best run of all. Here are the averages. You can see that the closed loop did better than the hybrid, and here are the standard deviations. The closed loop standard deviation was actually better than the hybrid.
With experimental verification, I took the best cases found by the coder for the open, hybrid, and closed loop simulations. I ran each of these cases 20 times. Finding that the scores for the open loop were constantly 0, I left them out of the t-test analysis. In the t-test analysis between the hybrid and closed loop, I found that the p-values were very low, meaning that the results we got were not due to random chance. As you can see in this bar graph, the closed loop had an average higher score. In the pseudocode, what we will want to be doing is first setting it up, so importing the libraries for the magnetometer, defining the control variables and parameters, setting up the input and output pins. Basically, what we want this code to do is to track off the pistons firing and track the gear speed using the magnetometer. Using this, we can map them together, see how the impulse changes the response of the speed.